So one more of the speakers coming up a little later is sort of childhood idol, Bob Skinstad. How you've come from the rugby background, you're obviously very involved in the sporting scene. What do you see, like why tech? Like what's the move to tech and what do you see in the space that sort of excites you coming from that sporting background?
I mean, I think it's always excited me, different forms of media in particular, and technology is probably one of the great growth paths of media. The traditional print, etc., is falling away, and people are now, like we are, live streaming stuff, out across the world in real time while we sort of engaging in learnings. So rugby was something for me that was on a form of media. I had to learn a little bit about it. I did some real old school. I suppose the best way to think about it is sort of time in the trenches with Sky TV and those kind of guys. I learned about production, I learned the back end stuff, and I realized the more you'd actually know about something, the better you can be at it. So when I came back to South Africa and got involved in broadcast, I realized that tech was what was going to be the game changer, in particular in broadcast, in particular in sport. So I mean, I think it's the nexus of the two. And for me, it's an exciting place. I mean, it changes all the time, from being part of rugby games when we were recorded on VHS videotape to now, live streaming on the net. Also being part of the broadcast and the commentary team. I mean, now Supersport.com has got more viewers than Supersport television. You know what I mean? So it's a real movement, and that's why I'm in it.
And about that commentary, you have the 100,000 commentators on social media, Twitter, Facebook. I can see on Supersport there you guys are trying to bring more of that into the space. Where do you see that sort of bringing user interaction and user feedback about the game back into the commentary? And do you see there's value in that, or is that just sort of meeting the needs of the plebs, if you will?
No, I think there's great value. I mean, I think, just look at another model, whether it's crowdfunding or crowdsourcing on big data or metadata or whatever. You can get the feeling of the people or what they want to see if you listen and comb through social media and that. You're going to have a few voices which are louder than others, and sometimes you'd have to quell that. But I mean, that's exactly the same as a parliamentary discussion. One person droning on the same point year after year is going to get kicked out. You need to be within the fabric of the game, but understand that your point is going to be made through, erudite argument, not necessarily through just forceful position, just because maybe you've got more Twitter followers than the next, Right. And I think we're in the position now where we're trying to understand how to integrate that. I mean, you'll see a couple of the Supersport shows like Blitz have got hashtags, running underneath some of the big games. The questions are coming to live sports commentary shows. Sort of for and by the people, a bit like the show here, and I think that's a huge part of the future. The people must be answered what the people want to know. You can't just go and dictate what they need to know. But I also think there's a specialist role in one collating that sort of the groupthink and turning it into a question that is actually out there for the broadcast of the huge part of the population that aren't on social media. They're still watching TV because that's what they've always done, and they will be there doing that for a long time. I mean, I think it doesn't change the fact that the product's got to evolve all the time.
Great, and I'm talking about product evolving, and there's definite place for it in the media and in the commentary side of things, but how do you see technology moving into the actual sport? Are you for sort of more digitization of sort of TMOs and third refs, or do you think the sport should remain pure and the technology should rather remain in the commentary or in the sort of spectatoring of that?
No, I mean, for me, the technology, the most important advance that technology can make is the eradication of mistakes, from officials, from players themselves, that kind of thing. I mean, if you want to play a fair game, sure, there's a human element, but the human element can come in the 6 days of practice. You know what I mean? You've got your 80 minutes of quality time, and the eradication of mistakes. I mean, for me, a rugby game at the moment is, including half-time, 92 minutes or whatever it is. If that was, 100 minutes or 104 minutes, it's probably a better product, if you can get the right decision to be made. I mean, we've seen technological advances in tennis. We've seen it in swimming with timing and those kind of things. I mean, with referees making mistakes at the moment and, the help of 36 cameras around them, you could just, wind back the tape, as you will, and make sure those mistakes don't happen. So I think that's a huge advancement. And I think once we get over the barrier of, sport is old school, let's just leave it to the people who are competing and say, well, let's advance it together, then we'll do it better. At the moment, it's a little bit administration are nervous of it. Fans want it. Players know it's got to come. But there's no real advances, on a yearly basis into it.
Great. Thank you very much, Bob Skinstad. We look forward to your talk a little later.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.